Okay, everybody, thanks for showing up. We had a question last week about the probate form, the probate addendum. And there's a paragraph in it that asks for the vesting, the buyer's vesting. So I checked that out, and Bill Jansen's comment is, he says, I assume this is a probate code requirement. So while the buyer can leave that line blank in paragraph 5, they need to get that vesting information to the seller and their attorney to petition the court for a confirmation date. So you information, apparently the court requires that to know the vesting information. So agents need to advise the buyer to get their vesting decisions into place quickly. Fine now. What does that word mean? Oh, you responding to a chat.
Oh, yeah, no, you were frozen for a little bit. I was asking
Okay,
you,
well,
and then you're fine.
I'm fine now. Okay. Okay, any questions on that probate issue? Okay. Okay, so we have a transaction where the buyer made an offer, the seller countered, and then the buyer's agent and buyer basically disappeared, not responding to the counter or anything. Our agent made an effort to contact them and couldn't get any response, and so we just figured they went away. But then 3 days later, after the counter had expired, the buyer's agent sends back a signed acceptance of the seller's counter without doing anything about extending the expiration. So the question is, if the seller wants to continue with that buyer, can we ask the seller to extend the expiration date of the counter offer? And I think that works from my point of view. If the seller signs as part of it and has the buyer counter sign it, that the expiration of the seller's counter offer is extended to a date beyond the acceptance date. That would seem to do it for me anyway. Any questions on that?
What document would you use to do that?
There's an extension of terms document now, which you can use for all kinds of things. It's a good form, actually. Let me see if I can pull it up. If I have it in here. I don't. So let's add it here. Extension of time amendment, it's called. And you haven't used this, Eric?
No, I haven't used it.
Okay.
And I'm wondering if the offer's expired, how does this document segue to it?
Well, they just signed it at a date, and it was dated later than the expiration date. So I said, well, if the seller extends the expiration date, even though it's after the, to a date that's after the date the buyer signed the counteroffer, that works for me. I mean, I think everyone's on the same page that the seller's willing to accept that. So here's the extension of time amendment, and it would refer here to a purchase agreement, and we would check that and put in a counteroffer, the property known as, describing the property, the buyer and the seller. And then there's some built-in options, the extension of escrow, the extension of contingencies, other extensions. So the time for acceptance of I would type in there, the time for the acceptance of the counteroffer is hereby extended to, and then a date. I would put that in there under number 3. And then this box gets checked. The seller's proposing this extension of time agreement, and it has an expiration date. So, it would require the buyer then to countersign it and to be effective. Okay. You've probably used that form, Heather?
I have,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
extending, contingencies or closing
Yeah.
escrow or anything.
Right. Right.
Yeah. I'd be a little nervous if they just like ghosted you for 3 days. Be a little.
Yeah, no, I know whether the buyer, the seller really wants that buyer or not. They sound a little flaky, but that's the seller's call,
Yep, absolutely.
So we had an interesting one this week where our agent is representing a buyer who's been looking in a particular market very closely for like over 2 years, looking for the ideal house in this, what is a relatively small market. And they saw on their update, our agent has them on a drip that informs of new listings in that market. And they got a notification that a new listing had come on, and actually the listing agent had put it in at midnight, say on Monday. So our client got notification on Tuesday morning, new listing. They liked the listing. They wanted to make an offer. Our agent pulled up the listing because they hadn't seen it yet. And as we had recommend, they called the listing agent to see if there were anything that's not in the listing agreement they should know about. Because the client expressed an interest in writing an offer on it. So, and the client actually was familiar with the property because it was a remodel that was being done over a period of months, I think almost a year. So the client had driven by and stopped and looked at it along the way, so they knew what the property was. So they could make a written offer on it without actually visiting it again. So our client called, our agent called the listing agent, and the listing agent said, "Oh, well, we were discussing about the listing agent is a partner in the property, which hadn't disclosed in the MLS. So if you're a partial owner of the property, you need to disclose that in the MLS under private remarks." But anyway, she said, "I have a partner, and we were talking about whether we would want to wait to review offers until, a week or, after open houses or something like that." And then our agent used the term, "Well, can we write our client write a preemptive offer?" Well, preemptive offer would be an offer that actually is before the property is listed, or if the property is listed and has an expiration date or a contract review date, will they look at an offer before that? That would be preemptive. Well, this wasn't the case because they didn't put in a date. So it was just going to be an offer. Would you look at, if we submit an offer now, will it be considered? And they said yes. So the client wrote a full priced, all cash, 21-day close offer. And the listing agent called back and said, "Well, that's less, it was full listing price." I said, "Well, that's less than we really want for the property." We said, "Well, wait. She says the property needs to have, the property was listed for say $995. And she said the property has to have a 1 in front of it." So our agent went back to the client and they said, "Okay, put a 1 in front of it and we'll go to $1,015,000. So it's a $20,000 increase. So they increased their offer to $1,015,000. And then the listing agency, they get that offer and they say, oh, that's really not much more than we were expecting. When you said preemptive offer, we were really thinking of something that had some, real, attraction to it. So our agent said at that point, well, what do you want for it? You put it in the property, you put it in the MLS at 95. He says, well, let me talk to the partner and see if we can get you a counter offer. So they did. So now they counter at $1.1 million. Okay, so now that's $105,000 over the asking price. And I haven't heard, I don't know if our client accepted that. They did get a firm counter. My suggestion to our agent was, well, the seller seems to be jumping around. And I did call the agent's broker to ask him to find out what was going on. And he found out that they just weren't sure about what they really wanted to list it for. And therefore, they probably should have held it off until they were sure and put in the actual price. But anyway, my suggestion was, well, advise a client that if they accept that counteroffer, they've got 10 days for inspections. If they feel it's not worth it, they can come back and ask for a price reduction, a request for repairs, whatever they want. But that way, at least they would control the property for those 10 days. And some other offer couldn't slip in and get them into a more competitive situation. So I don't know exactly what happened. I haven't talked to the agent yesterday or today. But I think the lesson here was, don't use the term preemptive offer in that context. Because it set up an expectation in the seller's mind that, wow, we're really going to get an increased offer over our asking price because they want to be preemptive. And that wasn't the case. Any questions there? Okay. Yeah, you're right. Let's see. We had a situation where it seemed our agent had a buyer-broker agreement with their buyer, that the buyer was going to pay them X percent. And you know how the buyer broker agreements go. It says that the buyer will pay unless the seller pays. Well, we didn't think the seller was going to pay. I don't know why our agent didn't know that the seller wasn't paying a commission, but the deal closed and the buyer wrote us a cashier's check for the amount that they agreed to pay. But then all of a sudden the escrow company calls and says, hey, you have to put a demand in the escrow because the seller paid a commission for the buyer's agent. This kind of caught us by surprise. And I said, well, it's what the the seller was offering is about 2%, 0.2% less than what the buyer had agreed to pay. So effectively, we could rebate the buyer, 98% of their amount they paid us if we get this commission from the escrow. So we put in our demand and we were waiting I said, we'll hold on to the check until we get the check from the title company, and then have our agent call the buyer and say, hey, we didn't realize the seller had a commission built in there for us. And what do you want us to do with your check? And the buyer may say, oh, you did such a good job, just keep it. That might be an option. Or they may say, oh, well, send it back to me. And we said, well, okay, well, it's a little different. So we'll cut you a check back for the difference between what you agreed to pay and what the seller paid. Or, it's up to the agent at that point. If they want to accept what the seller paid and give them the full rebate, I guess that's okay. So anyway, no real lesson in all of that, other than if you have a buyer commission agreement, you verify that whether the seller is going to be paying a fee or not, because that would affect what the buyer is obligated to pay us. Any of you go on the training that was offered this week for the Cuba Casa, the new software that's available through the MLS?
No, it sounds interesting though.
Well, I've heard a couple people have tried it out. Belvin, who is the head tech guy at MLS, he actually went around their office, which is about 4,300 square feet, with his camera and followed the directions, and he drew out a nice floor plan of the office and calculated the square footage. And he said, it seemed to be accurate. It calculated 4,300 square feet, and that's what they pay rent on. And other people have tried it. Now, one reason the MLS selected this Cuba Casa, and we're talking about Bayris here, some of you may not be Bayris members, so you wouldn't have this feature, but Cuba Casa allows you to either have the numbers in the floor plan or not. So if you go around your house with the phone, you can even try it in your own house before you take it to a listing, and it'll draw a floor plan, and then it'll have measurements, and you can either use the measurements or not. You have that option of choosing if you're going to upload the floor plan to, say, your listing or something. Now, there's also a disclaimer in the Cuba Casa floor plan at the bottom, but it's very small, and it allows us to customize the disclaimer. So the disclaimer is kind of basic. I'm going to ask Bill, because this is a new product, I'm going to ask Bill whether we want to put a uniform disclaimer down there that is more robust, perhaps, and advises the buyer to not rely upon that data, but to get, if they're interested in the square footage, to get their own. We do require the use of the square footage addendum or advisory in all of our files. So this, if you are using the numbers and you come up with a number, it calculates, it would just be another item listed in that square footage advisory. So you might have the MLS, you might have the tax assessors, you might have an appraisers, and now you have Cuba Casa as a source of the square footage number. And likely they're all going to be different. So, but I will check with Bill and see if he wants us to use a more robust disclaimer if you're using that Cuba Casa feature. And if so, I will let you all know. See, what was I was referring to the agent who didn't put in an extension of time or a time to review offers. And this is now in the RLA as a field in this latest revision. So here it is under 10C. And 10C1, seller instructs broker not to present buyer letters, blah, blah, blah. Or the seller, okay, that has to do with buyer letters. D, 10D, seller agrees to consider offers presented by the broker and act in good faith to accomplish the sale of the property by, among other things, making the property available, blah, 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 blah. There's a spot in here where the seller can ask for a period of time before they look at offers. I thought that was a new part of this. Yeah, here we go. There's marketing the property, it must have on the internet. I am sorry, I'm not finding it. It's someone used this new listing form and oh, there it is. The seller instructs broker not to present offers until a later time. Seller has elected to have broker hold all offers and present to the seller on blank for 8 days, 5 days after, or whatever. So that's 10B2. So if the seller, in the case in Kendra, I was talking about your potential transaction there where they hadn't set a date, but they really wanted multiple offers. So they counted you at a higher price than the list price. Yeah, they should use that particular clause in the lease or the listing agreement to point out that, and then you would put that in the public remarks that offers to be reviewed on 5 days after the listing date or whatever it is. Okay. We had a commercial transaction recently, and 2 things happened. The buyer wanted an option to that if they couldn't close on time, they wanted an option to extend the escrow for 30 days. When the seller said, okay, well, I first of all, I don't like saying, you may not close on time, but if you do want an extension, I want you to release, put an additional $10,000 deposit in and release that through escrow to us. So we did have to create some language about, that's pretty specialized terms, and often in a commercial transaction, you come up with that stuff. So we did have to do what I'm loath to do, and that's do creative writing around a clause like that. But, it was straightforward enough. We felt it was good. We advised the seller to have his attorney look at it. It's a qualified California real estate attorney, which he did. And the clause kind of worked. So now if the buyer wants to exercise that option to extend the escrow, they'll pay an additional $10,000 deposit into the escrow. It will be released to the seller. If they cancel, the seller gets to keep it. And if they close, the seller will credit it against the purchase price. That's how that worked out.
Terry,
Yeah.
that sounds like a non-refundable deposit that I thought we'd been advised not to do in the past.
You remember it's a commercial property.
Yes.
Yeah. The state law that forbids a non-refundable deposit applies to single family 1 to 4 residences.
Okay.
Yeah, but if you're dealing with a 5-plex or a commercial property or vacant land, you could have pass-throughs to the seller that would be normally characterized as non-refundable deposits. That the state law that forbids that on residential transactions is limited to single family 1 to 4.
Understood.
Okay. And now the second thing that came up was they got into escrow, and this is an operating business. And their busy time is on the weekend. So they got into escrow on Friday. On Sunday, the buyer, who's in escrow on the property now, comes to the property, and there's all kinds of customers going in and out of the shop, and this buyer is standing in the parking lot talking to someone, pointing at the property, and speaking out loud about how they're buying it, what they're going to do to it, and it kind of just freaked the seller out. You know, and they called our agent. So wait, what's going on here? You know, they shouldn't be doing that. And we said, well, there's really nothing in the document that would keep them from doing that. You know, we looked at the confidentiality agreement. It really didn't apply because the confidentiality agreement says you won't share the terms of the agreement, but it doesn't talk about your behavior in the parking lot. So I said, well, why don't you call the other, the buyer's agent, express what the seller's concern is, and see if the buyer will agree to restrain themselves from that kind of behavior until, the close of escrow. So it's something that was simple enough, but there's no form for it. So we just said, and if the buyer is a jerk and said, no, I'm going to do what I want, then, we could try to take it a step further and get some agreement, some restraining order or something. There was a form. Let me see if I can here. No, even the buyer investigation advisory disclosure, we thought that might have some language in it that would limit that kind of thing, but it doesn't really address, the client's behavior in front of the parking lot of an operating business. So we just had to hopefully get the cooperation of the buyer not to do that. And I think that worked out because I haven't heard any more about it. So that's all I have today. Anybody got a contract question that's you want to address? Okay, and I think Heather has some more tech tips for us today. I've already made you a co-host, Heather, so you're good to go.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. Hey, everybody. Hope y'all are doing well today. Today, I thought I would go over just a few things on Gmail. I know last week I covered Outlook and how to be more productive there. And I know most people have to have a Gmail account for some reason. And so I thought I would show a few things with Gmail just to make it a little simpler, make it so that it works the way you want, and those sort of things. So let me share my screen. There. All right, so here I am in my Gmail, my Gmail account. There's some things that are really helpful to set up. You can change the way it looks. You can forward these emails. If you just have a Gmail account because you need to log into something under your Gmail account, you can forward your emails elsewhere, things like that. So let me show you a few different things. Always, anytime you're in a program and you want to kind of set it up and make it how you want it to be, you pretty much always go to the settings. So if you click on settings here, actually it already has, you can see I have it up there. There's quick settings. So there's a few things here you can change. you can set up that the way your emails look. So your default is right how it is here, where you can see the any attachments that have come in on your emails. That is default. It shows each email and the attachments. You can change it to comfortable, which just moves the attachments. And if you're looking at it on a small screen or you don't need help with your vision, you can change it to compact, which changes it. It just takes out some of the white space and has them really close together like that. So you just pick what you like. I like to see I leave it at the default. You also have an option to change your theme. So obviously all white is what it defaults to, but you can change to any bright colors and different things that you like. Or you might find it too distracting and just leave it as is. And then inbox type right here, you can change how your inbox is sorted. So you can have it where it puts all of the anything that's labeled important first. You can also change it to any just unread. So it'll just give you at the top the unread emails as opposed to, just as they came in. You can also make it any that you've starred, different things like that. So whatever way you want it to have that set up. You can also change how it looks, and you can have it so that on the right or the bottom, it actually shows the email. So you don't have to click in and it goes to a whole different screen. Your default is no split. So like if I click here into this email, I want to read it, I have to click into it and open it. And then I have to go back, which takes a little time, right? So I like to have it either show me the emails. Okay, it's taking forever. While I'm right there in the inbox. Okay, come on, go back to the emails. There we go. So if you change right of inbox, then whatever email you are on, it's gonna have to reload. It will show you the email over to the right. So it'll still have the list of all the emails, and then it'll have, when you select one, it'll show you that right there in your on the right hand side. The other option is, I'm going to go back into settings here, and down here you can have it where it's at the below the inbox. So it'd have the list of all the emails, and then at the bottom it would show you. So it just depends on how you like it. That is personal preference. There's a lot more settings. So once you're in settings, you can go here to see all settings, and it gives you a lot more things that you can do to set it up the way you like. So see all settings. I keep having to move our little pictures because they're right in my way everywhere. Let's see. So there's a few things that are pretty handy. Have you ever gone in or sent an email, and just as you hit send, you go, oh no, I forgot to whatever, oh, I didn't delete something, or I needed more information. Well, it has a default undo send. So when you send an email, let me go ahead and just write one here. You can see it on the left, and I'm going to just do a little one here so you guys can see this. Let me see, can I move it over? I can't move it over. Not gonna let me move it. Okay, anyways, sample, blah, blah, blah. Then you see here on the bottom, it says send. Well, as soon as I click send, look over on the left-hand side and it says undo. So you can click that undo and then it stops the sending, right? So that's kind of a nice, I'm gonna go back to the inbox. That's a nice thing to have set up. The default for that, going back into settings, I don't need this anymore. See all settings. The default for unsend, where is it now? Oh, here it is. Undo send is 5 seconds. So if you want to give yourself a little longer, you can move that up, increase that time so you have longer to realize that you've made an error and want to switch that. Also, the default on your the inbox, it is that it shows you, if you take a look right up here, it's going to show you the most recent, or however you set it up, the top 25 emails. So it only has 25 emails here, and then you actually have to go to the next page. So if you want to be able to see more of your, I have 2,000, You can go into that CL settings, and then you can change that maximum page size up to 50, 100, whatever you'd like. So it'll show more on that home page for you. I'm going to put 50. I like that. Let's see what else. There's some things. Default is it's going to give you grammar suggestions, spelling suggestions. If you don't like those, you can remove them. Gonna scroll down. It allows you to put stars on the emails. The default is just 1 star. You can change it. Right now I have it set up to be 4 stars. You can have all of these stars. Now, how do you use those different stars when you're on an email? I am going to go back over to the inbox to show you that. Confirm changes. All right, so right here is those stars. All right, when you want to star this to yourself, you've got to make up your own little code, right? So I have 4 stars available to me. You just click through the stars to determine which one you want to use. The first one is yellow. And then if you click it again, it switches it to, oh, there we go, to blue. And then it switches it to, there we go, the green check mark. And then you have to check, I guess you have to do it quickly, the reddish exclamation point. So you might say, you know, you might come up with something for yourself like, oh, I'm going to do, if I have to respond to something, I'm going to give it a red exclamation point, and you just click through the stars to make that pop up. So stars, what stars you want on there is in that CL settings. And let's see what else is good. Here is where you can add in your signature. Now, if you want to change your picture that pops up, you go over to the main Google, which obviously I need to do because that's my old picture. But right here, you can add your signature. All you have to do is click create new, so that it'll automatically put in a signature. You can, I'm just going to pretend I'm making one for not business related, but a personal one. You have to name it. And then right here, you get to put in whatever you want. Have a great day. This is my personal one, right? In your business, you're going to want to make sure you put in your maybe our logo, our best of Sonoma County, and the main thing is your license number and your contact info, right? You can also just add an image in here. So if you have a signature already created, you can just click on add insert image. Have a great days. That's just horrible. You can add in your signature right here. Now, once you have this done, my default signature I named Heather, all right? So you can see that's right here. You want to come down below here to the signature defaults. And it's going to make it so that all new emails default, and automatically you can have no signature at all, or you can have any of your signatures. I like it to automatically put in my business one so I never forget. But you can, when you write an email, you can actually select any of your signatures. So it depends on how you want to set it up. I like having a default Heather. I also like it to go out on any time I reply. I want it to put in, and then it says right here, you can have this checked or not. Insert signature before the text replies, and remove that little double dash line that precedes it. So I like it to do that so that it's, not a million miles down, but when I reply to someone, it actually inserts it before their text. So that's how I have it set up to you. In here, in that settings, you can also set up your vacation response. So if you're going to go out of town or just not want to answer your emails for a while, you just go here to vacation responder on, include what day, and then I like to always have it turn off so you don't forget. We went over this last week, right? And then put in, whatever information out of office, and then have it type in the whatever you want here, and then you just after you do any of these changes, this vacation, I'm not going to put my vacation responder on because I'm not going to be out of area, but any changes making this whole settings at the end, you want to come all the way to the bottom and click on save changes. So I'm going to go ahead and save the changes there. Now let me show you one more thing as we go. I'm actually not liking this whole big, huge place for the email on the right. I'm going to switch that. But anyways, that's my own thing. All right, let's go back to see all settings. In here is also where you can forward this email to another email or a email program. So along the top is your general labels, inbox, lots of things. And here is your forwarding. So you click on forwarding, and then right now this is being forwarded to my personal or my main business email. And all you have to do is click on add a forwarding address, put that in there, and then you can set up if you want to have that email stay in Gmail as well. So it's just sending a copy, or you can say no. You can archive it, you can mark it as read, or you can just delete it. So it's up to you how you want that. I keep it there so that when I do go into Gmail, it's all there still. You can also use this, your POP download in your IMAP. If you're going to use a different program and you want the emails to go over there automatically, that's another way you can do it. Depends on, I don't use that, I just forward it. I think it's simpler. Any questions about any of those settings? All right, so I have one more thing here to show you. If you have, let me go over to the inbox. You know, a lot of email programs, when I showed you guys Outlook last week, what you would do to kind of sort your emails as they came in so you can look at them at one time, is that you would set up folders. Well, and then you would automatically put those emails over into those folders. So then, you know, when you were going to go look at every email from maybe a board you're on, or your a volunteer service you do, right? Then they'd all automatically go into an email, a folder. Gmail does it a little differently. They have you create filters. And then right down here under labels, there'll be it's basically like a folder that all those filters all those items that are filtered will go over into those. They don't call them folders, but they're basically folders. So if you want to do that, it's really easy. Let me show you how to do it. So I get this Google Classroom. I don't even know why it comes in here. It does, where I get a summary from my son's school. And obviously, I don't need to look at that really regularly. So all you do is you come in and you copy the subject line or what the words are that you want to use as your filter. Then you open up, then you go and you search in your email up at the top, and you just paste in those words, whatever it is, and you search for that. So now I have all those emails that came over with that same information. Now these are what I want to have filtered out. So then what you do is you come over here to advanced search, right here, advanced search. And you see it already says has the words daily summary for Lance Thurber. All right. So you don't have to type that in again because it's already there. So what you're going to do now is you come down to the bottom and you click on create filter. This gives you a bunch of options. How do you want it to be filtered? First off, generally, I don't want it to end up in my inbox. I just want it to go directly over into that other folder, we'll say. So I'm going to skip the inbox. And then I'm also coming down here, I'm going to apply a label. All right. So this is going to put it over in that label section on the left. Apply label, and then you do this drop down. And you're going to create a new label. So this is the first time I'm doing this, right? If you already have a label, then you just choose label. If it's another thing you want to go over into that same area. So I'm going to click apply label, and I'm going to put Lance school stuff, right? I'm just all his school stuff. I want to go over there. And then you click create. Now, anytime an email comes in, and create filter. Anytime an email comes in with that information, it's going to come over here into this labeled area. I still think it's a folder called Lance's School. Nothing's going to be there yet, but So let's see, like, so if I send myself an email with those words in it, it's automatically going to shut it over into Lance's school, and I'm not going to be finding those anymore when they arrive in with all my other emails. So they're nice and out of the way. And when I need to go in and find something in there, it's all in one location. It's a great way to do things, to sort it and help you just make things easier and be more productive, because sometimes you have to refer back to emails, right? And so by putting them all in one area automatically, then it's great because you can go and find it when you need it, right? I'm in Rotary, so I have all my Rotary emails go to one place, and then when I have to go back and see dates or some information that they sent me, it's all in one spot. So all right, I think that's everything that I had forward. Next page side, I'm just going to look through my little notes here. Oh, there's one other really cool thing you can do. Let me see if I can remember how to do it. Do you ever work really late at night or in the morning, or maybe you know you need to send an email to someone, but you don't want to send it until tomorrow, and you're afraid you're going to forget, right? And you're thinking about it. You can schedule when your emails will actually be sent. So that's pretty cool. So all you do is you compose an email. All right. Over here on my side, I'm going to make this bigger so we can see it more easily. So I'm going to compose an email. I will send it to myself just as a sample. Here is my sample email, sample. All right, now all you have to do is when you come down to the bottom, instead of clicking on send, you just click on this more send options, this little caret button on the bottom, and that is going to give you the option to schedule your send. You click on that, it gives you some automated, or you can just pick any day and time. I wanted to send on Saturday at is it going to let me change the time? 1:20. Whoops. 20 p.m. All right, I'm going to schedule that send, and now it's going to go out. I don't have to remember tomorrow at 1:20. Maybe you're writing an offer that they want, it needs to come in by 5 p.m. on Tuesday, and you don't want to submit it early, but you want to, you're going to be busy at 5 p.m. Well, today you could go ahead and get it all ready and just prep it and then schedule it to be sent out. So that's pretty handy. All right. That is everything I have. Anybody have any questions or thoughts?
Thanks, Heather. Curtis has mentioned that that looks like it has many features, but he's more familiar with Outlook, and he could help people with their Outlook accounts if you want a little help. He also says he caught E. coli from the Yountville water supply. Yeah, I ate lunch in Yountville on Wednesday. When did this show up, Curtis? Anyway, thank you for that. Any questions on that or anything else for the good of the cause?
I had a question, Gary.
Yeah, sure, Eric.
I am looking for someone to clean the solar system, solar panels.
Huh.
If anybody has any experience or reference they can give me for someone local Sonoma County for cleaning the light debris off of solar panels, I'd appreciate it. 707-338-1954. Just in case someone knows.
I'll text you Andrew's contact info because he's in a solar company, so they may have vendors to do that.
Great, thanks.
Okay. Seeing nothing else, everybody have a great weekend, and we'll catch up with you next week. Thanks for checking in.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.